What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, there's something shaping your future more than your talent, more than your background, more than your circumstances, and you're using it every second without even realizing it. It's not something you can touch. It's not something you can touch. It's not something you can see, but it's there, quietly deciding how you think, how you act, and ultimately how far you go in life. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're capable of more, but something invisible keeps holding you back? Like you start strong, full of energy, full of motivation, and then somewhere along the way, doubt creeps in. You begin to question yourself. You slow down. Maybe you even stop. Not because you can't do it, but because something in your mind tells you that you can't. Now imagine this. What if that voice isn't the truth? What if it's just a pattern, a habit of thinking that you've been repeating for so long that it feels real? And what if by the end of this video, you could start breaking that pattern and replace it with something stronger, something sharper, something that actually pushes you forward instead of holding you back? Because here's the reality, most people don't talk about. Success doesn't start when you take action. That starts long before that in the way you think. Your mindset is the control center of your life. It determines whether you take risks or play it safe, whether you stay consistent or give up, whether you grow or stay exactly where you are. And the scary part, most people never take control of it. They let negativity run on autopilot. They let doubt speak louder than belief. They let fear decide their limits. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But you're here right now, which means something is different. Something in you is searching for more. And if you stay with me until the end, you're going to understand something powerful, something that can completely shift the way you approach your life, your goals, and your future. This isn't about fake positivity. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. This is about understanding how your mind really works and how you can use it as a weapon instead of letting it become your weakness. Because once you see it, once you truly understand the power of your mindset, you can't unsee it. You'll start noticing the difference between people who move forward and those who stay stuck. You start recognizing the patterns that have been holding you back. And more importantly, you start to realize that you have control. So don't zone out. Don't skip ahead. Because what you're about to hear might just be the shift you've been waiting for, the shift that turns hesitation into action, doubt into belief, and potential into results. Stay with me. This could change everything. Your mindset is not just a background voice in your life. It is the architect of your reality. Long before you take action, long before results show up, your thinking has already set the direction. The way you interpret situations, the beliefs you hold about yourself, and the expectations you carry quietly shape every decision you make. People often believe that outcomes come from actions alone, but what they fail to see is that actions are born from thoughts. If your thinking is limited, your results will be limited. If your thinking is powerful, your results begin to expand in ways you once thought were impossible. Every single day you are telling yourself a story. Sometimes you don't even realize it, but it's there. It's in the way you react when something goes wrong. In T, the way you talk to yourself when you fail, and in the way you approach opportunities. If your internal story is filled with doubt, fear, and negativity, then even the best opportunities will feel out of reach. You'll hesitate. You'll second guess. You'll pull back when you should be pushing forward. On the other hand, when your mindset is grounded in belief, resilience, and possibility, you begin to move differently. You take chances. You stay consistent. You see challenges not as threats, but as stepping stones. Think about two people in the exact same situation. They face the same obstacles, the same pressure, the same environment. One person looks at the challenge and immediately thinks, this is too hard. I'm not ready. I don't have what it takes. The other person looks at the same challenge and thinks, this is tough, but I'll figure it out. This is my chance to grow. The difference between these two individuals is not ability, it's mindset. And over time, that difference in thinking creates a massive gap in results. One stays stuck while the other evolves. Your mindset filters your reality. It determines what you notice and what you ignore. If you constantly focus on bills, you will see more problems. If you focus on opportunities, you begin to notice possibilities that others overlook. This is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It is about choosing how you interpret reality. It is about deciding whether you will let circumstances control your thinking or whether you will control how you respond to circumstances. Before any success story becomes visible, there is a period where it exists only in the mind. Every achievement starts as a belief. Every breakthrough begins as an idea that refuses to die. When you train your mind to think positively and constructively, you are laying the foundation for future success. Without that foundation, even the hardest work can collapse under pressure. But with the right mindset, even small efforts begin to build momentum. There will be moments when your mindset is tested. Moments when things don't go as planned, when results are slow, when doubt creeps in. In those moments, your mindset becomes your anchor. If your thinking is weak, you will give up. If your thinking is strong, you will keep going. That is why mindset comes before action. Because when things get difficult, and then, as always do, your mindset is what determines whether you persist or quit. It is important to understand that your mindset is not fixed. It is not something you are born with and stuck with forever. It is something you build, something you train, something you strengthen over time. Just like a muscle, it grows with effort and consistency. The more you challenge negative thoughts, the more you replace them with empowering ones, the stronger your mindset becomes. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural. Your environment, your past experiences, and the people around you can influence your mindset, but they do not have to control it. You have the ability to choose what you believe and how you think. That choice is where your power lies. When you take ownership of your mindset, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the creator of your path. Many people wait for motivation to take action, but motivation itself is often a result of mindset. When you believe something is possible, you feel energized to pursue it. When you believe it is out of reach, you feel drained before you even begin. That is why changing your mindset can instantly change your level of effort. It shifts you from hesitation to action, from fear to confidence, from doubt to determination. It also affects how you handle failure. With a negative mindset, failure feels like proof that you are not good enough. It becomes something personal, something final. But with a positive mindset, failure becomes feedback. It becomes information. It becomes a necessary part of growth. Instead of stopping, you adjust. Instead of quitting, you learn. That shift in perspective is what allows you to keep moving forward when others give up. The reality you experience is deeply connected to what you believe is possible. If you limit your beliefs, you limit your actions. If you expand your beliefs, you expand your potential. This does not mean everything will be easy or guaranteed, but it means you give yourself a real chance. You open doors that would otherwise remain closed. In the end, your mindset is the starting point of everything. It is the invisible force that shapes visible results. Before success becomes something you can see, it is something you must think, believe, and commit to internally. When you align your mindset with growth, resilience, and positivity, you create a foundation that can withstand challenges and support long-term success. So if you want to change your life, start by changing your thinking. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Because the moment your mindset shifts, your direction shifts. And once your direction shifts, your reality begins to follow. Positivity is often misunderstood as something that either comes naturally or doesn't, as if it's a personality trait you're born with. But the truth is, positivity is a discipline. It's a choice you make over and over again, especially when it's difficult, especially when it feels unnatural, especially when everything around you is pushing you in the opposite direction. Anyone can feel positive when things are going well, when life is smooth, when results are showing up. But real positivity reveals itself when things are uncertain, when progress is slow, and when setbacks hit harder than expected. Discipline means doing something consistently, regardless of how you feel. And that's exactly what a positive mindset requires. There will be days when you don't feel motivated, when your energy is low, when doubt starts creeping into your mind. In those moments, positivity is not about waiting to feel better. It's about deciding to think better. It's about choosing thoughts that empower you instead of weaken you, even when negativity feels more comfortable. Your mind naturally drifts toward what is easy, and often what is easy is negative. It's easy to complain. It's easy to focus on what's wrong. It's easy to blame circumstances, other people, or past experiences, but none of that moves you forward. Positivity, on the other hand, requires effort. It requires awareness. It requires you to catch yourself when your thoughts start spiraling in the wrong direction and redirect them with intention. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. Discipline and positivity means acknowledging reality but refusing to be controlled by it. It means you can look at a difficult situation and still say, there's something here I can learn, or there's still a way forward. That shift might seem small, but it changes everything. It changes how you approach challenges, how you respond to pressure, and how long you're willing to keep going. Think about how many times people start strong with a goal but lose momentum because their mindset changes. At the beginning, they're excited, focused, and optimistic. But then things get hard. Results slow down. Obstacles show up. And suddenly their thinking shifts from I can do this to maybe this isn't for me. That shift in mindset leads to a shift in behavior. Effort decreases. Consistency fades. Eventually they stop altogether. It wasn't the goal that defeated them, it was the lack of discipline in maintaining a positive mindset. When you treat positivity like a discipline, you don't rely on external circumstances to determine how you think. You take control. You build habits that support a strong mindset. You start your day with intention instead of reaction. You feed your mind with thoughts, ideas, and influences that strengthen your belief instead of weaken it. You become aware of what you're allowing into your mental space because you understand that everything you consume, conversations, content, environments, has an impact on your thinking. There's also a level of responsibility that comes with this. When you accept that positivity is a discipline, you stop making excuses for negative thinking. You stop saying, that's just how I am, or I can't help it. Instead, you recognize, that you have control. And with that control comes the responsibility to choose better thoughts. It's not always easy and it's not always comfortable, but it is always possible. One of the most important parts of this discipline is consistency. You can't choose positivity once and expect it to carry you forever. Just like physical fitness, it requires daily effort. Some days will feel easier than others, but the commitment remains the same. Over time, this consistency begins to rewire your thinking. What once required effort starts to feel natural. Your default response shifts. Instead of immediately thinking negatively, your mind starts to look for solutions, for lessons, for opportunities. There will still be moments when negativity tries to take over. That's part of being human. But discipline means you don't stay there. You don't let one negative thought turn into a chain reaction that affects your entire day or your entire direction. You interrupt it. You challenge it. You replace it. That process, repeated over time, builds mental strength. Positivity as a discipline also affects how you interact with others. When you consistently choose a positive mindset, you bring a different energy into your environment. You become someone who uplifts rather than drains, someone who encourages rather than criticizes. That doesn't just benefit you, it influences the people around you. It creates a ripple effect. It's important to understand that discipline doesn't mean perfection. You're not expected to be positive every second of every day. There will be moments of frustration, doubt, and even negativity. The difference is in how you respond to those moments. Do you let them define you, or do you move through them and return to a stronger, more focused mindset? Discipline is not about never falling, it's about always getting back up. When you commit to positivity as a discipline, you build resilience. You become less affected by temporary setbacks and more focused on long-term growth. You develop the ability to stay steady when things around you are unstable. That kind of mental strength is what separates those who keep going from those who give up. In the long run, this discipline shapes your identity. You start to see yourself as someone who is in control of their mindset, someone who chooses growth over comfort, someone who refuses to be defined by negativity. That identity then reinforces your actions, creating a cycle of improvement and progress. At its core, positivity as a discipline is about control. Control over your thoughts, your focus, and your response to life. You may not control every situation, but you always have influence over how you think about it. And that influence is powerful. It determines whether you move forward or stay stuck, whether you grow or remain the same. So instead of waiting to feel positive, make the decision to practice it, train it, strengthen it. Treat it like something that requires effort, because it does. And the more you commit to that discipline, the more it transforms not just how you think, but how you live. Adversity has a way of stripping everything down to the core. It removes comfort, exposes weaknesses, and forces you to confront what you really believe about yourself and your capabilities. In easy moments, it's simple to feel confident, optimistic, and in control. When things are going your way, your mindset doesn't face much resistance. But adversity changes that. It puts pressure on your thinking, and that pressure reveals whether your mindset is strong enough to hold or fragile. Enough to break. When challenges hit, your first reaction is rarely physical, it's mental. Before you act, your mind starts interpreting what's happening. It starts asking questions, forming conclusions, and creating a narrative. If your thinking is weak, that narrative quickly becomes negative. You begin to think that the situation is too much, that you're not prepared, that maybe this is where your progress ends. Those thoughts don't just stay in your head, they shape your behavior. They slow you down, make you hesitate, and eventually convince you to stop trying. But when your mindset is strong, adversity triggers a completely different response. Instead of shutting down, you lean in. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, what can I learn from this? That shift might seem subtle, but it's powerful. It transforms adversity from something that defeats you into something that develops you. It allows you to stay engaged, to keep moving, and to find solutions even when the situation is difficult. Adversity doesn't create your mindset, it exposes it. Whatever is already inside you becomes more visible under pressure. If you built a habit of positive, resilient thinking, adversity will bring that to the surface. You'll still feel the weight of the challenge, but you won't be crushed by it. On the other hand, if your thinking is filled with doubt and negativity, adversity will amplify those patterns. It will make them louder, stronger, and harder to ignore. This is why preparation matters. The way you think on a daily basis determines how you will respond when things get tough. You don't suddenly develop resilience in the middle of a crisis. You rely on what you've already built. Every time you choose to stay positive, every time you push through discomfort, you build resilience. Every time you challenge negative thoughts, you are strengthening your mindset for future adversity. You are training yourself to handle pressure more effectively. There's also something important to understand about adversity. It is unavoidable. No matter how prepared you are, no matter how strong your mindset becomes, you will face challenges. You will experience setbacks, failures, and moments of uncertainty. The goal is not to avoid adversity, but to become the kind of person who can handle it. And that ability is rooted in your thinking. When adversity hits, it often owns with emotions dash fear, frustration, disappointment. Those emotions are natural, but they don't have to control your actions. Your mindset acts as a filter between what you feel and what you do. A strong mindset acknowledges the emotion, but doesn't let it dictate the outcome. It allows you to feel without losing focus, to experience difficulty without losing direction. Adversity also tests your level of belief. It asks you whether you truly believe in your goals, your abilities, and your potential. It's easy to say you believe when things are going well, but when progress slows down or stops altogether, that belief is challenged. Do you still believe when there's no immediate reward? Do you still believe when the path becomes unclear? Your answers to those questions reveal the depth of your mindset. In many ways, adversity acts as a mirror. It reflects back to you the strength of your thinking. It shows you where you are mentally, not where you hope to be. That reflection can be uncomfortable, but it is also valuable. It gives you an opportunity to grow. When you see where your mindset struggles, you can begin to work on those areas. You can start building stronger beliefs, more constructive thought patterns, and greater resilience. One of the most powerful aspects of adversity is that it forces growth. When everything is easy, there is little pressure to change. You can stay in your comfort zone without consequences, but adversity pushes you out of that zone. It demands that you adapt, that you learn, that you become better. And while that process can be difficult, it is also what leads to long-term development. People who have achieved significant success often share a common experience. They faced adversity and used it as fuel. They didn't let it define them or stop them. Instead, they allowed it to sharpen their mindset, to strengthen their determination, and to deepen their understanding of what they are capable of. That doesn't mean they enjoyed the struggle, but it means they didn't waste it. Your response to adversity can either limit you or expand you. If you see challenges as barriers, you will avoid them or retreat from them. If you see them as opportunities, you will engage with them and grow through them. That perspective is entirely shaped by your mindset. It determines whether adversity becomes a stopping point or a stepping stone. It is. Also worth recognizing that adversity often brings clarity. It strips away distractions and forces you to focus on what truly matters. It highlights your priorities and reveals what you are willing to fight for. In that sense, adversity can strengthen not just your mindset, but your sense of purpose. It reminds you why you started and challenges you to stay committed. Over time, as you face and overcome challenges, your confidence begins to grow. Not the kind of confidence that comes from easy wins, but the kind that comes from experience. You start to trust yourself more because you've seen what you can handle. You've been tested and you've come through stronger. That confidence then feeds back into your mindset, making it even more resilient. Adversity is not something to fear. It is something to prepare for and learn from. It is a part of the process, not a deviation from it. Every challenge carries the potential to strengthen your thinking, to refine your approach, and to move you closer to your goals. But that potential is only realized if your mindset allows it. In the end, adversity reveals the truth. It shows you who you are when things are not easy, when there is no guide. When the outcome is uncertain. It exposes the strength of your thinking and challenges you to rise above your current level. And if you meet that challenge with a strong, positive mindset, adversity stops being something that holds you back and becomes something that pushes you forward. What you focus on is not just a passing thought, it becomes the foundation of your experience. Your attention is one of the most powerful tools you have, yet most people use it without intention. They allow it to drift toward whatever is loudest, easiest, or most emotionally charged. And often that means it drifts toward problems, fears, and distractions. Over time, that repeated focus begins to shape how they see the world, how they feel, and how they act. The reality is simple but powerful. Whatever you consistently focus on begins to grow in your life. Your mind works like a filter. Every day you are surrounded by countless possibilities, opportunities, challenges, and details. You cannot process all of them at once, so your brain selects what to prioritize based on what you focus on. If your attention is constantly directed toward what is going wrong, your mind will keep high, lighting more of what is wrong. It will amplify problems, magnify obstacles, and reinforce negative patterns. On the other hand, if you train your focus towards solutions, growth, and opportunity, your mind begins to highlight those instead. You start to notice paths forward where others only see barriers. This is why two people can experience the same situation and walk away with completely different perspectives. One person focuses on what they lost, what didn't work, and what went wrong. The other focuses on what they learned, what they can improve, and what they can do next. The situation itself is the same, but their focus creates entirely different outcomes. One mindset leads to frustration and stagnation, while the other leads to growth and progress. Controlling your attention is not about ignoring reality or pretending challenges don't exist. It is about deciding what deserves your energy. Problems will always be present, but if you give them all your attention, they will dominate your thinking. When that happens, your energy becomes consumed by worry and doubt instead of action and progress. By shifting your focus towards solutions, you don't deny the problem, you simply refuse to let it control your entire perspective. Your focus also influences your emotions. When you constantly think about what is lacking, what is uncertain, or what could go wrong, your emotional state begins to reflect that. You feel stressed, anxious, or discouraged. Those emotions then affect your behavior, making it harder to take effective action. But when you focus on progress, possibility, and what is within your control, your emotional state shifts. You feel more confident, more motivated, and more capable. That emotional shift then supports better decisions and stronger actions. One of the biggest challenges is that distractions are everywhere. In today's world, your attention is constantly being pulled in different directions by information, by opinions, by noise. If you don't take control of your focus, something else will. And most of the time, those external influences are not aligned with your goals. They pull you away from what matters and keep you stuck in cycles of distraction and reaction. Learning to control your attention requires awareness. You have to start noticing where your focus goes throughout the day. What do you think about when you wake up? What do you dwell on when something goes wrong? What do you give your time and mental energy to? Once you become aware of these patterns, you can begin to change them. You can start redirecting your focus toward thoughts and ideas that support your growth. This redirection is not always easy. Your mind has habits, and those habits can be strong. If you are used to focusing on negativity, it will feel natural to continue doing so. But just like any habit, it can be changed with consistent effort. Each time you catch yourself focusing on something unproductive and shift your attention to something constructive, you are strengthening your ability to control your mind. Over time, this becomes easier and more automatic. It is also important to recognize that focus is closely tied to action. What you focus on influences what you do. If your attention is on excuses, you will find reasons not to act. If your attention is on solutions, you will find ways to move forward. This connection means that by controlling your focus, you are indirectly controlling your behavior. You are guiding yourself toward actions that align with your goals rather than away from them. Another key aspect is consistency. Why not just like mindset and discipline? Focus is not something you control once and then forget about. It requires ongoing attention. There will be moments when your focus slips, when negativity creeps in, or when distractions take over. The goal is not perfection, but awareness and correction. Each time you bring your focus back to what matters, you reinforce the habit of intentional thinking. What you focus on also shapes your identity. If you constantly focus on your weaknesses, you begin to see yourself as limited. If you focus on your strengths and your potential, you begin to see yourself as capable. That self-perception then influences how you approach challenges, how you set goals, and how you respond to setbacks. In this way, your focus doesn't just affect your action set, affects who you believe you are. There is also a long-term effect. Small, repeated focus creates big outcomes over time. If you spend months or years focusing on growth, learning, and improvement, those areas will expand in your life. You will develop new skills, new perspectives, and new opportunities. If you spend that same time focusing on negativity, doubt, and limitations, those will expand instead. The difference may not be obvious in a single day, but over time, it becomes significant. Controlling your attention is ultimately about taking responsibility for your mental space. It means recognizing that you have influence over what you think about and choosing to use that influence wisely. It means being intentional rather than reactive, focused rather than scattered. This level of control allows you to direct your energy toward what truly matters instead of wasting it on what doesn't. In the end, your focus is a powerful force. It shapes your perception, your emotions, your actions, and your results. It determines what grows in your life and what fades away. By learning to control your attention, you can improve your focus and concentration. You take a crucial step toward building a stronger mindset and creating a more positive and purposeful direction. A positive mindset is not just about feeling good in the moment, it is the engine that keeps you moving when motivation fades. Anyone can start strong when they feel inspired, when energy is high, when everything is new and exciting. But long-term success does not come from short bursts of motivation. It comes from consistency, from showing up day after day, even when you don't. I don't feel like it. And the force that makes that consistency possible is your mindset. When your mindset is positive, it changes how you see effort. Instead of viewing hard work as something to avoid, you begin to see it as part of the process. You understand that progress takes time, that growth requires repetition, and that results don't appear overnight. This understanding removes the frustration that often causes people to quit early. You stop expecting immediate rewards and start focusing on long-term development. That shift allows you to stay committed even when progress feels slow. Consistency is not glamorous. It is not exciting most of the time. It is built in the quiet moments, in the routines, in the decisions that no one sees. Waking up early when you don't want to. Continuing to work when distractions are calling you. Choosing discipline over comfort again and again. Without a strong mindset, these moments become overwhelming. You start to question whether it is worth it, whether you are making the right choice, whether you should keep going. But a positive mindset gives you the strength to push through those doubts. It does this by shaping your internal dialogue, T. The way you talk to yourself matters more than most people realize. When you face a difficult task, your mind immediately starts offering commentary. If that commentary is negative, if it tells you that you're tired, that it's too hard, that you can do it later, you are more likely to give in. But when your mindset is positive, your internal voice becomes supportive instead of discouraging. It reminds you why you started. It tells you that you are capable. It encourages you to take one more step even when it feels difficult. Over time, this internal support system becomes a powerful driver of consistency. You don't have to rely on external motivation because you have built a mindset that sustains you from within. You become less dependent on how you feel and more committed to what you have decided. That is where real discipline begins, not in forcing yourself occasionally, but in aligning your thinking with your goals so that consistent action becomes natural. A positive mindset also helps you handle the inevitable setbacks that come with any long-term pursuit. No matter how dedicated you are, there will be days when things don't go as planned. You might miss a step, make a mistake, or fall short of your expectations. Without the right mindset, these moments can break your consistency. You start to feel discouraged, and that discouragement leads to inaction. One missed day turns into several, and before you know it, you have lost momentum. But when your mindset is positive, you see setbacks differently. You don't view them as failures that define you, you see them as temporary disruptions that you can recover from. Instead of giving up, you reset. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, you focus on getting back on track. This ability to bounce back quickly is what keeps your consistency intact over the long run. Another important aspect is how a positive mindset influences your level of effort. When you believe in what you are doing and trust that your efforts will pay off, you are more willing to invest energy into your work. You are more likely to go the extra mile, to put in the additional time, to refine your approach. That increased effort, repeated consistently, leads to better results. It creates a cycle where your mindset fuels your actions and your actions reinforce your mindset. There is also a connection between positivity and patience. Consist. Encouragement requires patience because meaningful progress takes time. A negative mindset often struggles with this. It wants quick results. And when those results don't appear, it becomes frustrated and loses interest. A positive mindset, on the other hand, understands that growth is a process. It accepts that there will be periods of slow progress and remains committed anyway. This patience allows you to stay consistent long enough to see real change. As you continue to act consistently, something begins to shift. What once required effort starts to feel like part of who you are. Your habits become stronger. Your discipline becomes more natural, and your confidence begins to grow. This transformation is not sudden, it is built through repeated action over time. And at the core of that repetition is your mindset. It is also important to recognize that consistency does not mean perfection. There will be days when you are not at your best, when your performance is not ideal, when your energy is low. A positive mindset helps you accept those days without losing focus. It reminds you that showing up imperfectly is still better than not showing up at all. This perspective prevents you from failure, leaning into the trap of all or nothing thinking, which often leads to inconsistency. Your mindset also determines how you respond to boredom, which is an often overlooked challenge. When you repeat the same actions over time, they can start to feel monotonous. Without the right mindset, this boredom can cause you to lose interest and stop. But when you maintain a positive perspective, you understand that repetition is necessary for mastery. You learn to embrace the process, even when it is not exciting, because you know it is leading you somewhere meaningful. In the long run, consistency compounds. Small actions repeated daily turn into significant results. A positive mindset keeps you engaged in those small actions. It keeps you moving forward when progress is not immediately visible. It allows you to trust the process and stay committed long enough for your efforts to accumulate. Ultimately, a positive mindset is what bridges the gap between intention and achievement. It takes your goals and turns them into daily action. It transforms effort into habit and habit into results. Without it, consistency becomes difficult to maintain. With it, consistency becomes a natural extension of how you think and who you are. When you combine a positive mindset with consistent action, you create a powerful force. You stop relying on temporary motivation and start building lasting discipline. You move from starting and stopping to steady progress. And over time, that steady progress leads to the kind of success that is not just achieved, but sustained. So now the question isn't whether a positive mindset matters. You already know it does. The real question is what you're going to do with it. Because everything you've just heard means nothing if it stays as words. It only becomes powerful when you decide to apply it, when you take ownership of your thinking, and when you commit to showing up differently starting today. Think about it, every challenge you face, every goal you're chasing, every version of yourself you're trying to become, it all begins in your mind. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when everything is perfect right now, right here. This is your moment to decide how you're going to think when things get hard. This is your moment to decide whether you're going to let negativity control your direction or whether you're going to take control of your focus. You, our attitude and your actions, because life is going to test you. There will be days when you feel tired, when progress feels slow, when doubt tries to creep in. And in those moments, nobody's going to be there to push you every second. It's going to come down to you and your mindset. What are you going to tell yourself? Are you going to tell yourself, are you going to step back or are you going to step up? You don't need perfect conditions to move forward. You don't need to have everything figured out. What you need is the decision to believe, the decision to stay positive, the decision to keep going no matter what. That decision, repeated every single day, is what builds strength. That's what builds consistency. That's what separates those who dream from those who actually achieve. And here's the truth most people won't tell you. The biggest battle you will ever fight is not out there, it's in your own mind. But if you can win that battle, if you can control your thoughts when everything around you feels out of control, then there is nothing that can stop you. Nothing. So as this video comes to an end, don't just walk away feeling motivated. Walk away with purpose. Walk away with a commitment to think better, to focus stronger, to act with intention. Start small if you have to, but start now. Because every step you take with the right mindset is a step closer to the life you want. And remember this, your future is not decided by your circumstances. It's decided by your mindset. Change your thinking and you change your direction. Change your direction, and you change your life. Now the choice is yours.